Plan books for my wood models are available at Amazon. The links are in the video description. Hello everyone, this is S.G. DeVries, and welcome to the Wood Model Workshop. This series of videos is not going to be about how to build this project or that project, or how to build this or that cool thing. This series of videos is going to be about techniques. How do you do this or that process, or how do I get all my holes to line up if I'm building a series of really small parts, or how do I even cut parts that small and accurately and have them all be the same. Today, the very first thing that we're going to talk about is one of the fundamental things of building any model like this, and that's scale lumber. You can buy scale lumber to the correct thicknesses. This gets really expensive, more expensive than I want to pay. So today, I'm going to show you how to take just a bunch of random boards. Now, these is just a bunch of walnut cutoffs that I got for free. There's knots in them, there's cracks in them. But I'm going to show you how to take stuff like this and turn it into usable lumber for building scale wood models. Let's get going. I'll begin by cutting these long boards into manageable segments. For me, that's about 9 inches or so. Next, we want to cut those segments into a thickness that is about 1/16 of an inch greater than the final thickness that we want our boards to be. Now this board wasn't quite big enough to get 2 strips of the thickness that I needed, so I'll just save the cutoff strip and use it to make a thinner board later on. These boards were already pretty straight, so I'll just take a pass on a rough sandpaper onto the gluing edges. This is probably the most important step when making scale lumber, and that is to have a smooth, hard surface to clamp to. I can't use my table because there's a little flex to it, but this is just a piece of old granite countertop with a silicone mat laid on it. The granite countertop was free off of Craigslist, and it's flat enough for what I need to use it for. And it doesn't flex. One of the biggest myths of edge gluing is that you need to put glue on both contact faces. That simply isn't true. You only need to cover one of the 2 faces, and that's enough, otherwise you're just wasting glue. Another myth about edge gluing is that you need to clamp this down super tight. You don't have to do that. You only need to clamp it just tight enough to keep the boards in the right position and to keep them from sliding around. Anything tighter, and you're actually going to squeeze out the glue from between the joints. And once the glue is squeezed out, it's worthless because it's not bonding your wood together anymore. This next step is something that a lot of people will forget about. If you're clamping against a hard flat surface like this, you have to put weight on it. The clamping pressure will have a tendency to bow that wood up just a little bit, so you want to put weight on it to make sure the boards stay flat against your hard surface. Sometimes you will have boards that are bowed a little. Now there's probably a temptation to just clamp it tighter and straighten that board out with your clamps, but that's really not a good idea, especially on thinner lumber, because that extra stress in the wood can cause your wood to want to warp and bend even after it's glued. You're better off either rearranging the boards or running this piece through your table saw just to take a little bit off of that convex edge so you can get a good glue mating surface. Here I'm going to make 2 boards at the same time. I've got my granite surface with a silicone mat, and I've got strips of paper between the 2 boards so I don't accidentally put glue on that surface. Glue on one of the surfaces, then clamp it just tight enough to keep the boards from moving, and put a big weight on it to keep it flat. I usually let my glue dry for about a day before I take the weights off. The best edge gluing technique in the world will still leave you with the need to smooth your boards. Now when I started model building, this is what I did. I simply had a hand belt sander and I rotated the wood frequently, sanding down both sides to remove the ridges between the boards, and to get it to as close to the correct thickness as I could. You know, it's not perfect, but I built a lot of models using just this technique, but there are some better ones. This is a thickness sander, and if you can get your hands on one, it is invaluable to model building. I didn't know how much I needed one until I had one. This machine has a rotating drum with sandpaper wrapped around it, and you just run the board through a number of times, flipping it over between every pass, and raising up the platen slightly until you get the board to the exact thickness that you want. With this machine, I can get a board down to the 1,000th of an inch thickness, no problem. Or even take 1,000th off if I need to. Now that is plenty accurate for model building. Exactly 1/2 inch. Perfect. And these are exactly 1/4. Awesome. Let me know in the comments section if you have any questions or you want clarifications on anything. And happy model building. Thanks for watching.